So I want to get started on this video by summarizing Revelation. Maybe you're stuck and you don't know how to read it. So if I give you maybe a simplistic summary of it, you have a foundation, a roadmap of where to go and how to read it and study it for yourself. First of all, the book of Revelation is a blessing to all those who read it. That's what we have in chapter 1. We find out the origin of the book of Revelation. But in particular, we are shown at the end of chapter 1, I believe, the cipher of how we should read Revelation. Jesus is standing in the middle of the candlesticks. And this is the first vision we have in Revelation that John sees. Chapter 2 and 3 are the 7 churches. First of all, there were 7 churches that received this message. But this message in chapter 2 and 3 has a fantastic blessing for those who read it. Chapter 4 is a phenomenal chapter because we have the throne room and we have the Lamb of God. And in that throne room, he does something particularly special. He opens up the scroll with the 7 seals. Now, only he can open up the scrolls with the 7 seals. This is where he acts as the Goel Redeemer, the only one who can accept the scroll, the inheritance, the firstborn. This is he in chapter 4. Chapter 5, he opens the scroll. In chapter 6, we have the 6 seals. Now, the 6 seals are phenomenally important. This is where he takes possession of everything that is on the earth, of everyone who has ever been saved. Chapter 8, 9, and 10 are the most significant chapters for us today because it accounts a time in the future where he will return. There's a very profound significance in these verses that link the old Feast of the Tabernacle and the Day of Atonement to the book of Revelation. Chapter 11 is very profound also. We have 2 witnesses who will be killed by the beast. Before any judgment is executed by God, he always sent 2 witnesses. When judgment was set on Egypt by God, there were 2 witnesses who went into Egypt, Moses and Aaron. When judgment was given to Sodom and Gomorrah, there were 2 witnesses. So before the last trumpet sounds, there will be 2 witnesses who will declare judgment. Chapter 12, we have a woman who gives birth to a child, and we have the great dragon who stands before her to kill that child. This is Lucifer, who after a great war is cast down from heaven. Chapter 13, we have 2 beasts, one of the sea and one from the earth. Chapter 14, we have the Lamb of God and the 144,000. In chapter 15, we have the same 144,000 now standing in the throne room before the great judgment on the earth of the 7 last plagues. And this chapter is a continuation of chapter 10. They are the 144,000 and the 2 witnesses who will be killed before the second coming of Christ. Chapter 16 is the last judgment, the last 7 plagues that the earth will ever receive. Chapter 17, we have a vision of Babylon, a harlot sitting on a beast that comes out of the bottomless pit. And we have a vision of the 10 kings. Chapter 18, we have an angel who sounds off that Babylon has fallen. This message is for us today. It's for everyone who is alive today that we should get out of Babylon before we are consumed by that judgment as Babylon is consumed. Chapter 19 is the second coming of Christ in a great battle. Chapter 20, we have a great judgment. But before that judgment, we have 1,000 years in heaven, in the New Jerusalem, alongside Christ. Chapter 21, earth is made new. In chapter 22, a solemn warning to those who attempt to change this book. Now you may ask yourself, what method do I use to study the book of Revelation? Currently there are 3 methods: the preterist method, futurist method, and the historical method. I don't use any of them. I believe that the clue to reading Revelation is in the first chapter. The cipher to the whole book is in the first chapter. Also, the book of Revelation actually ends in chapter 11. The most significant verses relating to our salvation is in the first 11 chapters. Chapters 12 through 19 and 20 are basically a global view, while chapter 1 through 11 is the local view, or the view that we should look at that will help our salvation. There are things that have been answered already, so the preterist view is probably very significant to those things. There are things that haven't been answered at all yet, and we can take the futurist view. And there are things which happened already throughout these last 2,000 years, and we can say this is the historical view. Pertaining basically to the churches, we want to say that these 7 churches have always existed from the beginning in the Asian Minor to even this day. That if you read the blessings and the things that go on in the churches, you might find that you're in one of them right now. So I ask you, which church are you in? One other thing. The book of Revelation is about an inheritance that is promised to Christ, the firstborn, and us. Read it with that in mind. Focus on Christ, and you won't have a problem. Also, take what Jesus says in Matthew 7:7 deadly serious. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find it. Knock, and it will be open to you. Christ wants you to have the answer. It is not a great mystery. It's not a big puzzle. It's easier than you think to understand the book of Revelation. You don't need to be a PhD in theology. You just have to go to Him with a humble heart. Be as a Berean and ask, and He will give you the answers. I am Daniel for the 144,000. Please subscribe and share this video.